Welcome to the Friday at 4 podcast series with your host Charles Luttrell and co-host Steve Kent.
Steve, how are you, buddy?
Doing well, Chuck. How are you?
I'm great, man. Welcome back to the Friday at 4.
Yeah, it's a good time. Getting used to it, repeat every week. It's good stuff.
Yeah, I'm glad you don't find it boring and you're gonna give
No,
up on me.
not at all. I love, as you do, sharing information with people,
Yeah,
our opinions, um, based on experience. And people may not like what we say, but what we keep saying every week, it's our opinion. It's the truth. We're not paid by anybody, so we can say what we want within reason. Of course, we can say what
right.
we want because obviously it's got to be legal.
Yeah,
But it's sharing information. It's helping other people. That's what we're all about. That's why we're doing this.
love it. Yep.
Yeah.
Last week we forgot our little phrase when we signed off. Made me sad.
Which little
Yeah.
phrase?
When I watched the podcast, we didn't say 4 o'clock somewhere.
We didn't.
We didn't say
Oh no, that's it.
it. Totally forgot. We broke our streak.
Oh
So
no.
now we have
But
to
that
start a
but
new one.
but that means we have to start the streak again.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So I tried to forget today. That's my fault. I should have remembered, but
Not
it
your
is what it is.
fault.
You know. But today, right? So
Uh-huh.
today we're diving into a topic that can make or break a small business, but often gets overlooked, right?
Yep. Yep.
Business networking. This
Correct.
isn't just about swapping business cards or cold messages on LinkedIn and social
No, it's
media.
not.
It's about creating meaningful relationships that drive referrals, which we need,
Mhm. Yep.
open doors, and even spark collaborations, which I think is huge, right?
Yeah.
So, whether you're an introvert who thrives at events, like I do
Mhm.
okay, or you're an introvert looking for low pressure ways to connect. I'm sure you and I can come up with some pretty good strategies for everyone
Yeah.
here.
Yep.
And I know you, Steve, you've got some insights into the numbers behind why your network really is your net worth because you're starting to really become big into networking here. And that's why I want to have this topic today because, you know,
Yeah.
you're into a couple of networking groups.
It's what you have to be. You have to do it. Now again, I'm on in New York on Long Island, and
Long Island.
Long Island, and there are, I don't know, let's call it 1 million people. It's probably more, but let's call it 1 million people, which means it's big. But in the term of networking, it's very small. Most people know each other or have heard about each other. And here, if you don't network, could be Zoom, could be in person. But if you don't network, you don't exist.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is here, flat and simple. So let me start out, and I'm going to go umpteen different ways, but let me start, as I always do, right? Just go off on
As you
tangents.
always do.
Um, but let me start out with what happened to me as a real example of something you do not want to do. Okay, so
You
if you
beat
are
me to it
doing
because I
this,
was hoping we would do that after we talk about some things that we discover about networking. But what a great way to start, right? Don't
well,
do this, but do this.
I'm gonna tell you what not to do, and then we'll get into how to do the right things
I
or
love it.
things.
Yeah.
So when I left, and again, I've said this before, when I left corporate in 2012, and I used 2012 to figure out what I wanted to do when I grow up, and I opened up my business in 13, January of 13. And I had the idea as a new business owner, never having done this before, that if more people knew who I was and what my business is, then in my mind, I'm going to get more business because people know you're out there. Because if you don't get out there, people don't know you exist. They're not going to look for you, and therefore you get nothing. Okay. So I started out in January. I joined multiple chambers of commerce, multiple networking groups. Back then, it was all in person. Um, Went out to all kinds of other different things to get my face out there, to get my name out there, to get my business out there. And in theory, it was a great idea because that's what you need to do.
Mhm.
In reality, I was not selective. I was one of those throw it against the wall and hope it sticks type statements, which is not a good move of your time, your
Yeah.
money, your energy.
Yeah.
So after spending all kinds of money and all kinds of time, and mind you, I still had to run a business, I realized I was getting nowhere. So I took the 10 chambers and made it one. I took the 10 networking groups and made it two, and I scaled it back and I looked at which were the best ones that I thought for my time, energy, and money. And that's what you want to do is to focus on what makes the most sense. Now, if you're fortunate enough, either starting out or even once you have a business, to have someone to do that for you, that's great because you can focus on the business. They can focus on building the business, even though technically it's your business.
Right.
Um, but again, you're not going to get there for a while. Starting out, it's you. Limited funds, limited time, you're doing a lot of stuff. But when I used to go to networking meetings, I would sit there, room of people, and I would walk up to Chuck and I would say, "Hey, Chuck, great to meet." Now, we have never met before. I would walk up to Chuck and I would say, "Hey, Chuck, great to meet you. Do you have a business card?" And I would take your card, I would put it in my pocket, and I would take out my business card, give it to you, and start rambling, diarrhea of the mouth, all about me. You were in front of me. You didn't exist. It's all about me. And I wondered for the first 6 months why I got no calls, no emails, no text messages, no zero, nada, zilch, zip, nothing. And somebody back then was nice enough, and I didn't even know him, but he took me aside and he said to me, "I'm going to help change your life." And I was like, "Okay, do you have a winning lottery ticket?" But that was not the answer. What he said to me is, "You're doing it all wrong. All wrong.
Yeah.
Okay? Tell me, what am I doing wrong?" Because at this point, I'm willing to learn anything.
Yeah.
And what he said to me, which I started to do, now I meet Chuck in a meeting. "Chuck, great to meet you. Do you have a card?" "Sure." Chuck gives me his card. I take the card and I hold it. I have a pen. Turn Chuck's card over. "So, tell me a little bit about you." And I would write stuff on the back of the card because I'm interested.
Right.
Be interested, not interesting. Difference is if you're interested, you're letting somebody else talk.
Yeah.
If you're interesting, you're doing all the talking and they want to run away from you.
Yeah.
So if you're interested, you take some notes, you ask some questions. People love to talk, as you can tell, so do I, right? But
Yeah.
people love to talk.
Yeah.
Let them.
Yeah. I'm glad you started with that and told our audience, our listeners about what you experienced and how to fix it. Because back in the day when I was heavy in the networking, I got to
Mhm.
get back to it, but I got to get more today. I'm struggling right now with that. That's one of my downfalls. But back in the day when I was doing mystery shopping, when I go to an event and they will break out, everybody's like, "Oh, everybody introduce yourselves, blah, blah, blah." And we all walking around. They say, "Hey, Chuck, how are you? What do you do?" And I would say, "Mystery shopping." And they would light up. "Oh, I've heard of that. Tell me about it." And it gets their interest. I give them a card. And that's how I retained a lot of shoppers easily by, doing the networking. Today, what I found, and specifically on a daily basis when I interact with people, "Hey, Chuck, what do you do?" The four words, right? What do you do?
Mm.
And that's what is a common phrase right now is what do you do? And I say, "I'm a business analyst." And that really gets them, "Man, tell me about that. That's
Yeah,
interesting." And then I break it down to different parts of what I do as I analyze a business, and they love it. But I don't use a business card no more. A picture of a QR code, and that's my business card.
correct.
and
Correct.
it works.
Business cards are still around, but they are declining to a certain extent. They
Yeah,
are.
and they're expensive now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
But a QR code, and there are some apps out there, and off the top, I don't remember the
yeah.
names of them, but there are a couple of apps out there where it's an electronic QR code. So when they click on it, and it's going to drive me crazy now because I can't remember them, but there are a few of the popular
Yeah,
ones. But you
yeah.
click on a code, they get your information and they put their information in. And when they press send, it comes back to your phone and it populates a contact in the contact list or an entry
I
in the
had a
contact list.
I had a guy try that in a network event I went to probably a month or so ago, and it wouldn't go to my
Hmm.
phone. It wouldn't populate. Yeah, it didn't work right. So QR card never fails when you take a picture of it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You
And
know.
but back then, again, yes, it's changed and I think it's better now. But
Yeah.
back then, I would take all the information as much as I could. And after 5 minutes, give or take, I would say, Chuck, that's awesome. Thank you for your time. I definitely want to get back together. And I'd walk away. Now, why did I walk away? Because that then gives me the opportunity to call Chuck the next day and say, hey, thank you for your time. I would love to meet again because I do have a follow up question or two. And I also want to tell you what I do. This way you have the second meeting. Because
Mhm.
if you regurgitate on meeting one, there is no reason to meet again
Mhm.
because they're
Yeah.
going to want to give you and sell you their goods and services. They don't care about you.
Yeah.
So part of that second meeting is they're going to try to do that. But the more you
Yeah.
can find out, the better.
Yeah. I think networking is kind of weird because everybody is afraid to talk about themselves now because it's all
Mhm.
about the other person, right? Because we're always told when you network, focus on the other person. Well,
Correct.
everybody focuses on the other person. Who's going to
Correct.
talk to you? Right? Right? It gets awkward, right? It makes it awkward,
Yes.
and that's why I kind of right now I'm introverted in networking meetings because I just stand there and I'll wait for people to approach me.
And they
I
may
stand there
not.
alone. Right. I stand there alone. They look at me and they walk over. Hey, and who might you be? And then I, talk to them a little bit and they ask. So I don't want to make it weird and awkward, but it tends to be that way because we're all told to talk about somebody else, not about yourself. It,
Yep.
it gets
Yep.
it gets interesting.
Yep. So here's the way around that. We use something called form, FORM. So I'm going to walk up to Chuck and I don't know you. And I'm going to sit there and say, hey, how you doing? I haven't seen you around before. Are you from this area? Where are you? The F. Where are you from? Oh, you're from New York. Oh, so am I. Where in New York? Where were you born? Brooklyn. So was I. That's awesome. What area? I don't remember. I'm too old. I don't remember where I was, what town I was born in, but where were you born in? And you try to get into something about where were you from. Then you say, oh, by the way, um, that's awesome, but what do you do? What company do you work for? What high level? What do you do? Talk about the occupation. Oh yeah, I know a CPA also. He does great work. He's in a different town, but I definitely want to find out more about what you do. Occupation. Oh, that's awesome. You're a CPA. In your little bit of spare time, what do you do for fun? R is recreation. What do you do for fun? Oh, I love hockey. I love whatever. If they talk about family, I also have two kids. One's 39, one's 34, soon to be 35. Ugh. But
And you're feeling it.
but the idea is to start with something high level. Have you ever been, if you don't want to start with form because you think it's too formal or too intrusive? This is my first time at this meeting. Have you ever been to this meeting before? Do you know any what if are there any protocols, anything I should do or not do? Because you've been here before, I value your opinion. What'll keep me out of trouble? Is there any specific person I should be talking to that has a lot of influence?
Mhm.
The other thing that I've done before, and this does work, groups like meetup.com or some of those other types, if you can get a list of who is in that meeting, or at least registered, you don't know who's in there, but who's registered, because not everybody that registers shows up. But if
Yeah.
you can find a list of who registered and then find out who the host is, go down the registers, the registrants, I guess is the right word.
Registry
What's your language? Okay,
to
so
the
go down the list of
registrants.
people that registered and try to find out, do a quick little research what they do. Then, when you get there, find the host and say, hey, Mr. or Ms. Host, can you introduce me to Chuck? Because he's got what I'm looking for. To George, because he's got. To Mary, because she's got. Because if you go into a room of 10, 15, 20, 50 people, hi, 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 hi. But if you target the 3 to 5 specific people you're looking for, do some research. Look up a LinkedIn profile, a Facebook profile, Instagram. Look up anything.
Yeah.
Find out what they do. So when you sit there and say, host, can you introduce me to Chuck? If they know Chuck, they introduce. Say, hey, Chuck, I found out you were here. I'm so excited to meet you. I know that you're a CPA and I went to school for accounting, but I never pursued it. How do you like being a CPA? Tell me what you like. You already know something about the person. It shows you care. It shows you've got interest. And again, they want to talk.
Yeah. Good
So
stuff. Yeah. Good stuff.
it takes a
It's
little
something I
bit of
never thought
time.
about. Yeah, it's
I'm
something I
sorry.
never thought about. That's good information because again, like I said, I'm very awkward when I go to network meetings
Mm,
because people say, don't talk about yourself. So I usually just sit or stand there and wait for someone to approach me and, hey, what are you doing? Why are you here? Are you part of the
right.
network event?
Yeah. But
Whatever
again,
they want to
they
say.
may never approach you. So you're going to stand there all night.
Yeah,
I understand why you're doing it, but
yeah.
if you wait for other people, people will form their own little groups, and that's where they're going to stay because they're comfortable.
And I've seen that, Steve. I've seen that. These people know each other so well. There was three,
Hmm.
four, five of them together, and they just stuck together in a little group
Right.
and
Yep.
never branched out to meet other people. I saw
Yep.
it. Yeah.
Another thing that I've done, and it is a little iffy, but it's all okay. But what I've done is I see 2, 3, 4 people together talking. I'll walk over. I'll say, hey, I'm Steve. I'm Steve. I'm Steve. I'm Steve. Shake hands, shake hands. Nice to meet you. They may or may not engage you in conversation. If they do, great. Try to find that again. You know, again, this is my first time here. Have you been
Yeah.
here before? What do you like about it? Because you're back. If they don't acknowledge you, don't walk away. Because when they forget that you're there, and
Yeah.
they will start to say things that you listen and you can gather a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And if they're talking about a bunch of things and all of a sudden Chuck hears, yeah, my restaurant's sucking wind. It's doing bad. I need help. Excuse me, George, I hate to intrude, but that's what I do. How can I help you? Let's talk after this.
Yeah.
Because they
Yep.
don't remember you there, they
Mhm.
may start to open up because they're comfortable with the other people.
Yeah.
Now, it is a little iffy because, again, you don't know them and you're just standing there. So, it is a little, but if you can do that, um, you never know what you may learn.
Yeah. And I'll tell you another thing too, real quick. I bought a book on body language. I
Mm,
read it about 3 times. I lent it to my daughter. I got to get it back so I can reread it again.
mm,
But as I went to this event, I was able to look at people's body language
mm,
and I could get a really good idea and clue of who was interested, who wasn't, how they stood with their hands, their feet, where they
mm,
were standing in front or to the side, hands in their pockets.
mhm.
Everything's a tell, of their reaction and action to people in that room. and I
Correct.
used it.
Correct.
So
The other thing,
to anybody that's watching this, I really recommend picking up a good book on body language. It
yeah,
helps.
yeah, no, it absolutely does. It does.
Yeah.
The other thing to do, and I have not done this, but I've heard from other people that it really does work. I am in this meeting and I meet Chuck and I find out what he does. Now I go talk to somebody else and then somebody else. If one of those other people is a match for Chuck, I will sit there and say, "Hey, George, let me bring you over to Chuck because you both do similar things. Let me introduce you. You become that, and you just met them both that night, but you become the connector, and both of those people will remember you."
Yeah. So one thing I want to ask you, and this has happened several times to me, fairly recent and in the past, and I want your take on this real fast. You meet somebody, you network, you exchange information, they tell you they're going to look at your information and get back to you, and they're going to follow through with you on your proposal or whatever you shared with them. They never follow up with you. What is your response? Do you wait days, weeks, or do you immediately follow up? What do you take on that? If you met somebody, you're
Oh,
talking to them and they're interested, they want to help you with what you're doing for their business or their entity, but you sell the information and then you get ghosted.
so there's a gentleman that I know for years, years, who's a heavy duty sales coach. And his thing is next best action step. And what that means is if you're talking to somebody and they say, "Yeah, I'll get back to you," that's as good as saying never.
Yeah.
But what you do before you part ways in that meeting is, when can I get back to you? No, what day is best for me to get back to you? Next Tuesday or Wednesday? And
Mhm.
you get their phone number. So you're nailing down a date, a time, a phone number.
So I
Now
got
they've
an
just
email
committed it.
address, I got a name, email address, and I sent
Okay.
information off. Still got ghosted.
If you have,
Interesting, right?
if you set the next best action step and they agree to it and they don't, you can always send a message, an email, a voice message, or something that says, "Joe, we had a meeting set up for today. Unfortunately, it didn't happen today. I'd like to schedule another one with you on Monday of next week at 3 o'clock." And send off email, send off voicemail, send off something so they have it.
Yeah.
Or if they ghost you, try calling again.
I
Call
don't have
them
her number.
directly.
All I have is an email address. I don't have a number. That's the problem.
Send it, return receipt requested.
What I thought about doing was replying back to the email and just saying that, the program has been a success.
Mm,
And where I had specifically talked about, I would like to get started, if I can come in, let me know what date and time would be best to share my
right.
knowledge with X, whatever. So that was my thought process, just send back with, hey, look, I'm going to be in the area. This is really successful. When can I come in? I'll be available on this day, this time.
Well, one of the ways to stop dragging it out is when you're first talking, is to explain to the person, we've done this X number of times. 9 out of 10 clients have been successful, and get them excited about it. If
Right,
all they're viewing you as just another vendor, they're not going to respond. They may just
right,
be nice to you to get you away from them.
right,
But if you can say to them, "I have 6 customers. Um, here's my website. You can take a look at them." In my case, I can't share it on the financial side, but
right,
although you could always go to my website and look at the testimonials. But
right.
if for what you do with the restaurants, yeah, well, we've worked with 17 restaurants. They're all on my website. Go take a look and you'll find out how we can help you as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of let this one go for a little bit. I'll probably circle back in a little while, but This happened twice, and I'm just curious, as they're very interested, but yet I got ghosted. But the one restaurant owner actually even said, I'm in. Don't worry, I'm in. You got me. I'm hooked. You sold me on your service and what you do. I
Hmm.
want you to come do my business. He took a picture of the QR code, he did his thing, he went on his way, and that was probably a good month ago now, you know. Now, in my eyes, it might not have been the perfect business for me, but it would have been a business to help showcase how I do different things for different businesses.
Yeah,
So
don't,
yeah,
yeah, I would call. I wouldn't keep waiting. I would call.
yeah, yeah.
Um, it, Another thing that I've read recently is, and I'm going to paraphrase because I don't remember exactly how it was said, but where are you going to be a year from now if you don't make any changes? Or
And
what's your business going to look like a year from now if you don't make any changes?
and you notice, right? That's on my webpage.
Hmm.
That's one of the questions I ask my podcast. Where do you see yourself with your business in a year or two?
Yep.
That
Yep.
is a huge question. That's your step in.
Yep. Give
Yeah.
them a time frame because
Yep.
that should wake them up going, if it's not good now and I don't do something, it's not going to get any better.
Right. And a
Not
year from now, you could be out of business. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the point. So you got to give them a couple of key things. Where would you be a year from now if you don't make changes? Um,
Yep.
Consider the possibilities if you did make some changes of where you could be.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
there's a whole bunch of phrases. There's somebody out there by the name of, I don't know if I mentioned this before. It's Phil. It's Phil. Phil, middle initial M, last name Jones. And if you do a here's the book. I don't know if you can see the book.
It's
It's
one of
called
it. Yeah.
Exactly What to Say. If you do, this is to the audience. If you do exactly what to say.com and you scroll to the bottom,
Mhm.
they have and this is free, by the way. Okay. And I'm doing this, I'm in the middle of it right now. If you scroll to the bottom, there's a 31-day challenge. And if you sign up every day for 31 days, you get a very short 2 to 3 minute video on 31 different phrases to say to get your point across, to get people to think, to get you further in a relationship.
Send that to me. I'm going to probably look at that myself, and I'll put it in the show notes. I'm going to put that in the
Yeah.
show notes
Yeah.
with my book on body language. And make sure you send me the stuff with form. I want to
Yeah.
break that down as well. I want
Yeah.
our audience to see this stuff. And
Yeah.
like we always say, we're not getting paid for this. This isn't something that
Correct.
they're paying us. We just want to
Right.
share this information because we've read good books. We know
Hmm.
good things. We want to share it with the audience. That's what this podcast is always
Correct.
about. You
Correct.
know?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's
Good
good stuff.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
good
all good
stuff.
stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
What a great
let me
podcast, Steve. I tell you, this is good one.
yeah, so let me just throw out one more quick line. There is no, at least from what I know, there is no silver bullet.
Yeah.
There is no, I'm going to do this and guarantee success.
Yeah.
Doesn't work because every person is different. Every person you talk to is different. There is no, hey, Chuck, hi, how are you? Have a great day.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I have business. It doesn't work. It takes time. You have to get to know the person. They have to trust you. They have to be willing to do business. Um, and that doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't.
Yeah, trust is a big one.
It is.
If I don't get trust from people, they're never going to work with me at all because that's what I do. That's part of what I do is
Yeah.
exposing your business, good or bad. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just the truth. You know, and most times they're okay with it, but a lot of times they want to put their head in the sand and be like, "Oh no, no, I don't want to know anything about it."
They,
You know,
Part of the reason people don't trust is they don't know who you are.
right,
And people are also afraid to open up. They
dude,
are.
you nailed it. I was going to tell you that. We had a conversation about that, and I think that's something I need to do is open up with my story, and that will really help people trust me because I have a significant, lengthy story that I've been through some good things with business, and I've had people trust me well in the past with not even meeting me, all through
Yeah.
email. Never talked to them.
Right.
So I've built some trust, and
Yeah.
you're the same way. Your business is built around trust. If people aren't going to trust you, they're not buying it.
If people don't trust you, that's the reason when I speak to a brand new person, I open up with my story first so they understand where I'm coming from. Because again, the financial side is real touchy. People don't open up if they don't know you. And I understand that. But if they know my experience and what I went through, they feel a little bit more comfortable opening up even a little bit. And if they open up a little bit and they feel comfortable, the little bit becomes bigger and bigger. And then here it is.
Yeah, exactly. All right. 516-727-2294. Reach out to Steve. Any questions or concerns, or you want to
Yeah.
get some of this extra knowledge from Steve about networking? I think Steve's a little bit further along the networking than I am. You're into groups and you're doing it. I got to get there.
You will. Talk to Chuck. Get his opinions. 410-935-6132. He's got experience that may not be my experience, but that's okay. He's got his own. So between the two of us, pick our brains. Again, there's no cost to what we do. We'll talk to you. We'll give our opinions. We'll listen to you, and if we can help you, great.
Yeah, absolutely. Steve, another great podcast. Love
Yeah.
talking to you, man. I love picking your brain. I love us when we
You
get on
too.
here, and I look forward to it every Friday. Every week I look forward to this. After Friday, I can't wait for the next Friday because
Me
I
too.
love what I do, and I
Yeah.
love my show. I love my business. I love your business. And I think, we work well together with
Yeah.
sharing our knowledge, and we want other people to join us. Come on,
Yeah.
and enjoy with us. So,
True.
again, and wrapping here, man, it's Friday at 4 because
It's 4 o'clock somewhere.
how can we miss that? It's crazy. I can't believe we missed it.
Because we get so wrapped up in what we're doing
Yeah, we do.
and in trying to add value and help that we just missed it.
Yeah, that is true. All right, in closing here, Steve, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Audience, it's
Yes,
today
today is my
Steve's
birthday.
birthday. Yes, enjoy the rest of the day. Eat some good fattening food for me and have a nice big dessert.
We're going to focus more on the dessert side of that.
Yes, because that's me.
That's it. There you go.
Yeah. Steve, again, happy birthday, man.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
the evening. And
Okay.
we'll talk soon. Have a great weekend.
You got it.
And
You too.
talk to you soon. Hey, everybody, have a great weekend.
You too. Thanks, Chuck. Take care,
See
everyone.
you, Steve. Take care,
Bye.
buddy. Bye.
You've been watching the Friday at 4 podcast series with your host Charles Luttrell and co-host Steve Kent. Thanks for watching.